Hello, can anybody hear me, please? If somebody can hear me, should kindly indicate, please.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear. You want to mute
Yeah,
your mic a bit until
thank
it's question time, please?
All right, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Just want to test.
All right, cool. Just a reminder, if anybody has data issues and the Zoom is kind of hanging, you can watch the YouTube stream as well. But I've adjusted the settings so that the Zoom won't be heavy on your data. All right. I'll post the link on the group as well. So, Nino, in 2 minutes, you can jump off.
I needed to test sharing my screen real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine. You have admin's rights right now. I made you co-host.
Thank you. I
Hey,
want to share my full
Barbados,
screen.
Nigeria, everybody, welcome, welcome.
Let's see. Evan.
Chile, big up yourself. Nino, say something in Spanish, man.
Buenas tardes. Buenas noches.
Janine, I'm saying, hey, South Africa, Dumela. Hey, Nigeria, Mohammed, big up yourself, Oga. Yo, Kenyans in the house. Mambo VP.
You
Hey,
guys are too
Dumela,
much.
South Africa. Yo, it's everybody. Hey, Lesotho. Hey, Uganda. Yo, we are so happy to meet all of you. Yeah. Right. So I was saying, if your data is a bit, hey, Indonesia, if your data is a bit draggy, you could watch it on the YouTube of your mobile phone. It's gonna be lighter. All right. But if you can keep it in here so that you can type your questions and all that, and I really encourage you to be interactive. Ask all the questions. Yo, Jamaica, Wagwan. St. Lucia, Wagwan. Okay, Zainab, hold up, just now. Hey, Morocco, Assalamu alaikum. India, what's up?
All right,
Okay,
let's see.
cool. Let me send the YouTube link to the group, yeah?
I'm going to send the Discord link as well.
Okay, anybody using, hey, Dominica, what's up? If anybody is using your cell phones, the YouTube is in the group, okay? You're on my man Troy from Trinidad. Big up yourself. Okay, Nino, ready whenever you are.
Yeah, I'm trying to establish chat on my phone with Evan because it only gives me the option to share my screen, and I don't want to share my entire screen.
Right,
But
okay.
I've shared the Discord in the group. If you guys can actually go there and take a look at that for a second, I would appreciate that if you could join that. We will be using it later today. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Let's see what it gives me. Does it share my whole screen?
Yo, precious. India speaks English, you know, so they say, "What's up?"
There we go. Okay, perfect. I've reached out to Evan on my phone. We have communications here. Should get it going here. All right, so what I'm going to be showing you guys is we're going to go over Discord a little bit, what we expect. We're going to be going over, we're going to have two people joining us today, Evan and Kevin will be joining us. They're very experienced educators with Bitcoin, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, and just blockchain in general. They're really knowledgeable people. I'm glad to have them with me because I am not a blockchain knowledgeable person. I just work in the space. Much like many of you, I assume, will end up being. Let me see if I can do that. Share my screen. Ooh. All right. Now let's see what it's saying. That's the Discord. Here we go. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, and you know, we do.
Okay, beautiful. It should say no long ting. You see fifth work. So for my Nigerians, I'm sure most of you are familiar with this screen. This is basically just the form that I'm using today to go through the ideas that I wanted to talk to cover. So right now, this is not a hosted course. You cannot see this if you went to this. This is just a way of me structuring my thoughts so I can get it to you guys today. So who are we? So many of you know Fifth Work. We are a learn to earn platform, meaning you come to our website, you will take courses, and depending on how well you do in those courses, you will be rewarded with either tokens of some kind, Bitcoin SV. However, you are incentivized for the specific courses, you will be incentivized. Most of my Nigerians went through the Bitcoin Association courses, so they were rewarded in Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. The intent is that you are educated and empowered at the same time. So we'll go into us a little bit later, but for me specifically, who am I? I've been in cybersecurity for just under 15 years. My name is Nicholas Beekert, but I go by Nino. Most people call me Nino. I am the CEO of Fifth Work. It was just an idea that my friends and I had about 5 years ago, and we wanted to make the world a better place. So we built this platform so that we can educate people and we can spread knowledge and invite more people that are untapped into the global market. And this is how we do it. And if you don't mind, I'm going to hand it to Evan so that he can introduce himself. And then later, Kevin will introduce if he's on. Evan, are you on?
Hello, everybody. So I'm Evan Freeman. I'm not the best at introducing myself, but I have been an educator and professional in the blockchain space now since 2014, and I've taught universities, various banks and large businesses, as well as I've run various education programs, specifically looking to train developers and entrepreneurs on how to build with a fully scalable version of Bitcoin, which is BSV. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to for the last few years, and really, my feeling is that there's so much potential with this technology when it comes to allowing those who have been left out of the global digital economy, which is, by and far the greatest economic opportunity to date. Am I sharing a screen? Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Is this coming through? Am I
Yeah, Evan,
frozen?
we hear you.
Oh, okay. So yeah, by and far, the internet provides the greatest economic opportunity, today, and yet, 2/3 of the global population are maybe not fully left out, but at least, either left out or unable to participate to any great economic prosperity. So we really want to change that. And fundamental to that are things like micropayments, which, if you look at the Bitcoin white paper, that was a fundamental and never before possible part of the Bitcoin design, right? To be able to provide micropayments. And so this is something that's very important, because you need to be able to have many small transactions that, are very negligible in transaction fees, in order to make it open for those who are not making a lot of money, right? Even a transaction fee that's $1 is too much for most of the world. So we really need to narrow down, but maybe, and here's the thing, right? When I talk about these technologies, I talk about them in a way that makes sense from like a commercial perspective. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't make money, off of something that isn't inefficient, right? Like, that's not to say that you can't, have a business that is profitable on a technology that is maybe not the most capable. And just to kind of give an example of that, if you look at the ordinals, for instance, I don't know if you're familiar with ordinals. Ordinals started on BSV, but they've become quite popular on BTC, and so it's, I think, if you're looking at this space as an entrepreneur, there's a couple different ways you can look at it, right? One is you can look at it about creating, these kind of never before seen businesses that can change the daily lives of billions of people in developing countries all over the world and developed countries. Or, you can kind of look to ride the wave of crypto itself, right? Where you are, participating in, a more speculative, more kind of fun, hobbyist style enterprise. And both are good, both of them you can make money, right? So I think, you got to narrow down what it is that you're trying to do. Are you looking to augment an already existing business? And then with these, parameters, you can begin to start to explore your options a little better. It's important to kind of see what's going on in the larger world to determine what your strategy at the time can be, because maybe at the moment there is no blockchain capable of what you need. So that in that case, does that mean that you don't make a business? Does that mean that you ignore blockchain? Or maybe you need to set your sights a little lower in the beginning, try to find something that as a project will help develop the skills that you need, so that once the technology catches up and is at the spot that you need it to be, you can effectively build your idea. So those are just some of my thoughts and comments. Yesterday was wonderful, and there were a lot of interesting points discussed, and I took a few notes, and I thought maybe I could,
Sorry,
and maybe,
quick
oh yeah,
question.
please, yes,
It's
please.
Brian. Are you sharing your video or are you sharing something the students are saying they're just seeing a blank screen? Are you
Yeah,
supposed
I don't
to,
know. It's not mine.
Nino,
We
are you
should.
to fix that?
So I can see. I can stop my sharing maybe, and then
Oh,
if we
okay.
can get Evan. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, for now, if we just want to do introductions, there is a spot in the later half where we actually get over and discuss the comments from yesterday.
Oh,
For
is that
now, it's
later?
just
Okay, that's
yeah, that
fine.
is theater. So if for now, just who are you? Why should we listen to you? I think
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
what we're
and
getting at.
hold
Yeah.
on.
Yes, sir.
And Sarah, for the guest lab is also here. So probably when Evan is doing introductions, she can also do introductions. And then she'll be ready for the guest lab session later on when we come back from the break from the break.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Yeah, we do
Awesome.
have a break in 20 minutes so that some of our members can go pray. Just
Great.
keep that in mind as well. So, Evan,
Yeah.
thank you.
No,
No,
it's
you're
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you could make it.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to, talking with everybody and answering questions and all.
Sarah?
Is Kevin there, maybe?
Yeah, Kevin's here. Maybe we can have
Okay, cool.
Kevin.
Kevin. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey. Yeah, so I'm from California and I've been an independent app developer for a while before I got interested in Bitcoin. And I got into the whole Bitcoin space because of what Evan was talking about. There's sort of two camps. There's the speculative, kind of using that as like an investment. It's more like a casino, really. And then there's the people that actually want to use it for utility and use it for building or improving a business on. So in the early days, I was just an independent app developer working mostly with Apple products, the iPhone and stuff. But I became interested in Bitcoin as a speculative investment. But after a while, I'm like, you know what? This is the wrong way to be using this. It should be used for utility. And so that's why I got interested in Bitcoin SV and using it for micropayments. And I think what Evan was talking about with being able to do transactions for less than $1 is huge, right? So I spent time traveling in Africa and, I eat a lot of fruit and you guys have like the best fruit there because it's all tropical and stuff. And I would be dealing with people at the fruit markets and they'd have, a cell phone, they'd have an Instagram, they'd be posting photos, but there's no way to take payment. And the credit card fees there are even higher than they are here. It's like 5% and higher. So there's just such a lot of lost opportunity where, you can't keep track of your sales. You can't keep track of, trends and data because if you're paying cash, you don't, get all that data. So there's so much opportunity for using Bitcoin in Africa, and all around the world where people, where the credit card fees are just too expensive. And also particularly even in the United States and stuff on the internet, if you could use a micropayment to pay for a Google search or some sort of service without ads, where you're just paying, a tenth of a cent in order to see a page without ads, that would be, incredible. So these are some of the ideas that I'm interested in. I think there's a lot of infrastructure that still needs to be built, but the Bitcoin Association has built some TypeScript libraries for the web developers out there. And so, yeah, I'm just kind of following the space. And as an entrepreneur myself, I want to make use of it, but I'm also waiting for it to mature a little bit and also helping it to mature a little bit. So that's sort of my intro.
Okay, back to you.
Beautiful. All right.
I see Sarah in here, but she's not talking, so it's fine. We can proceed.
No problems at all. I'll go back to sharing my screen, and if she wants to cut in, we can introduce her.
Okay, that's fine.
Let me see. Dum, dum, dum. All right. Everyone's able to see this? Let me cut my video actually. Should be. Can you still see it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, and we hear
We
you.
hear you now. We can
Okay.
see it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. So now that, oh, don't look. Everyone close your eyes. What is it doing? Don't
I
look.
was on
Oh
chat
no.
and I couldn't see the screen. And then when he said that, I tried to turn out so I could see it.
Oh, it's terrible. Let me stop sharing and let me log back in. No one can see my screen, right?
No,
No.
I can't
Correct.
see this.
All right, good. There we go. All right, going back to sharing my screen. Apologize for the technical difficulties. All right, so you guys should see it. Here we go. What to expect. So many of you don't even know what this boot camp is. So this is a rundown of what to expect for this boot camp. Our objective, the entire reason we are all doing this, why we're all here, spending our time and investing our time in you, because we want to develop innovative, realistic projects that leverage blockchain technology to generate revenue and address community issues or improve the community. Revenue that we gain from these programs will be leveraged to drive future boot camps, which you will be part of. Let's say you end up going through this whole boot camp, you make a you win some money, you get mentored, you build a product, and you start making money. We will bring you back to future boot camps to share your story, to leverage your technology, whatever it be. That is the whole point. It's a perpetual education initiative. So in this introduction, we're going to go over blockchain technology. I brought Evan and Kevin is joined us as well. They are literal experts and they're developers to some degree. They can help you. They can, I don't expect everyone in this boot camp to be a developer, but at this boot camp, you will meet developers. I want people to have ideas to meet people that have the ability to create those ideas. We're going to network them together and we're going to build something. So I'm going to explain today what CIA is. I come from cybersecurity. It's a very simple theory, and how blockchain applies to those or can be applied to those is just an example of what you can do with this technology. Risk management. We're going to talk about risk management today because it was brought up yesterday that you're like, oh, BSV might be scary, or BTC has a lot more support for it. Well, yes, both of those may be true, but what is true for you is going to be completely different than what is true for somebody else. We're going to talk about that today and how you can kind of manage your own risk. We're going to explain SMART goals. This is going to be critical for the Ideathon, that is the second half of the bootcamp, because you are going to be submitting SMART goals for how you are going to build an application or some sort of solution. So the bootcamp itself, two parts. You're going to understand blockchain and applications, and you're going to be able to identify problems in your community and stay within the legalities and within your own realm. We're going to have brainstorming. We're going to have a community where you can network. We're going to have we're going to provide you with the tools you need to build something for yourself. You come down, this is going to be the SMART goals. This is what a SMART goal is in a nutshell. What is a problem and in your community, and how are you going to apply the blockchain to it? Very specifically, measurable. There has to be moments or milestones that you need to meet in order to complete this product. So you're going to schedule out a year, maybe a couple months, where you're going to get money, have a developer, have a prototype. How are you going to proof your prototype? These are things that will be part of your Ideathon submission. The goal has to be achievable. So is it in the realm of your control? Let's say that, blockchain can be used to vote. It could easily be done to do that. However, if you're not someone that controls voting, or you don't know anybody who does, it's not in your realm of control. The chances of you being able to realistically achieve that goal are pretty slim. Relevant. If it doesn't apply to your community, you're not going to get people to jump on board. You're just not going to be able to get money for it. You're not going to be able to get students. It's going to be difficult. And time bound. If you don't have very specific time goals, you'll miss them. And you have to have that pressure to actually get the goal. So you're going to prepare the pitch. And number 4 here, then you're going to be pitching it to us. The judges are going to go through your pitches for about 3 days. We're going to choose 3 winners based on this criteria. How original is your idea? It doesn't have to be super original, but it does have to be something we can use. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to recreate Apple, something like that. It's just, you need to have an idea that is applicable to whatever market you're trying to apply it to. Feasibility and scalability. If it's unrealistic, you're not going to get my money. I'm not going to get you as much support as someone who gives me a realistic idea. Potential impact on the community and the clarity and quality of your presentation. So a side note to this, I don't expect you guys to have an idea right now. We are going to coach you through this idea so that in 2 weeks' time, you will have the basics of an idea. So right now, don't look at this and be like, I can't do that. I don't expect you to. In the future, you will be able to. We're going to help you do that. And the people in this call, listening to this call with you, will most likely be part of your team. So awards and closing remarks. So the top 3 ideas will receive $300 US in BSV in initial seed money. That is not all you're going to get. That is just for the ideathon. You're just going to be receiving these awards simply because you proposed a good idea. The ability to assist us, again, is not restricted to these top 3 ideas. So let's say we have 5 really good submissions. The top 3 are going to win the seed money. The other 2 are probably still going to get our support to build their good applications. So you can expect from this that there will be more coaching beyond the bootcamp itself. And then you're going to be provided mentorship. You're going to be paired with attendees and mentors from various blockchains. Your resources, you're going to get financial support. We're going to help you. If you have problems or anything keeping you from staying in the group, let us know. We want you to be here. We are trying to tap into your potential and provide you what we have to help you succeed. And follow up. We are going to continue developing your ideas well beyond this bootcamp. So even people who are not part of the top 3, part of the top 5, it could be 3 months from now, you're still going to be part of that Discord group where you can develop your ideas, you can brainstorm, you can make new groups. As we do multiple boot camps, we can bring in new talent, and maybe you'll find the key or that puzzle piece that you're missing to make your idea. That is basically the intent of this boot camp. Now, any questions? I'm going to open up the chat and see what we got.
There's a question from Lukman Hudu.
Here we go. Audio comes in and out. Oh, no.
No, your audio is perfectly fine.
Okay. It's just where there is their network.
Yeah, there's someone called Lukman Hudu who's raised his hand.
How do I go to that?
And there's a question from Andy. So, okay, I can see that, on the chat. So you can just answer the questions. Let me request Lukman to take the mic. Lukman, you want to take the mic and ask your question, please? And then followed by Andy. Hello, Lukman, your hand is raised. Andy, you want to take the mic if Lukman is speaking?
How is the project format supposed to be? You'll be given a template. So
okay,
towards the
good
end,
evening. Andy
go
talking.
ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Andy, what's
Yes.
up?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Joining yesterday, day 1 was awesome. The introduction and everything. I learned a lot, Crypto Mondays, and literally about blockchain. But for today, what's piqued my interest is for the pitching, because definitely there are lots of problems in the world to solve, and the it's not about the money, is but when it comes to solving the problems and how it impacts lives, you definitely need some sort of support. And the money, the mentorship, the boot camps sounds awesome. So my question is, are you guys looking for a particular area or case study in which you want us to build a solution around? Or it should just be generic. It can be any problem at all. Because I know when it comes to investments, investors are always looking for something. And if you just so as to not to waste time, I can be specific with my team, because I have a team and we build solutions on the blockchain, and which blockchain in particular should we, because I know yesterday I saw a lot of blockchains, Algorand, Ethereum, Leaks. I think there was a video on Leaks blockchain. Yeah, and I think even these blockchain Lex, I don't know if you have a blockchain of your own too. I don't know whether private blockchain, but I don't know. That's what I intend to learn along the line. Or BSV itself, must this be specific to a blockchain, and any specific? I hope you get my question. That's literally what I want to ask. Thank you.
Thanks,
So
Andy.
can I respond to those questions?
Yeah, and
So I just want to clarify your questions. Are we wanting to work with a specific blockchain? Personally, I work with BSV, but no, it's up to you. But however, as a mentor, most of my contacts are going to be in the BSV community. So, when it comes to your SMART goals and your submissions, whatever makes sense is going to win. So if it's built on Ethereum and you have a very solid plan and you have a good developer and you have everything that you need to do that, yeah, I'm going to support that. So it's unimportant to me what exactly you're building on, or even what issues you're addressing. So to address your second question, is there anything specific we're looking for to solve? Well, it's got to make money, because the intent is to continue education. And if we're not making any money, then it's just going to sink our money and our already limited resources, right? So, no matter our time, our money, what we have, we want to dedicate that to what's going to have the highest chances of success. So if you find a very untapped market and you have the tools and everything you need, put it in the pitch. And when that pitch comes down and it's the best one, then that will get our attention. And then I believe you had a third question. I didn't remember it.
Nino, there's some other questions. There's a question
Okay.
from Iliasu. Iliasu, you didn't finish your question, so when you finish it, we'll get to you. Muhammad is asking, how is the project form supposed to be? Then Mahmouda, can you share the bootcamp criteria, please? And then Benedict. Okay, Nino, just take those two first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is no region. It's global. As far as now, it's again, the smartest goal is going to win. If you bring a prototype to it, then, and that seems the most realistic to provide us a solution that solves the problem you introduce, then yes, that would be a good thing. Again, we're looking for the best and the most likely to succeed.
Nino, can we
what was the
post
other question?
PDF of your criteria in the group, in the WhatsApp group or the Discord group as well? Because
Criteria as far as it's got to be 18 plus is the only thing that really matters.
Okay.
Simply because you have to have a business.
Okay. And Benedicta is asking, do we require a laptop for the training? I think you do. I'm not sure, Nino.
For our training, no, you can use Fifth Works on mobile.
Oh, okay, cool. Then
Well,
Jishantu Kripal is asking, is there any region or country restrictions for the ideathon competition? And
No.
this initial part is only limited. Nino, Jishantu's question is right there. And
How can
Sarah
crypto
is in
affect
the
the
room as
engineering
well.
deficit in Africa? You'll have to be able to if you see a problem, a very specific problem, identify a problem you want to get after and then work on the solution.
Okay.
Thanks for clarity. Understand. So said I have network issue. Oh, that's fine. Lukman. Did Lukman get a chance to ask?
Yeah, Lukman, you can ask your question, and there's another question from Shamsuddin Yao.
Sudin Yao. I'm not
Shamsuddin
seeing the
just-
question. I saw the introduction at the end.
Hello, can I
We need to
proceed?
have a
Can you hear me?
business. Yes, well, we can help you with that. Don't worry about it. You just need to be able to create a business. Yep. If a pitch is on Ethereum, how good you evaluate it's better for BSV? Oh, we're gonna have to have a break for prayer. Can we get back to this after prayer? If you guys want to jump on the Discord, we can go ahead and move to the Discord for these questions, and then we can continue having this Q&A. And for anyone that has to go to prayer, we'll have the recordings available so that you can see these questions, and then you can get any of the question and answers on
how
the
long is the
Discord.
prayer break?
20 minutes. So we're gonna reconvene at 8 p.m. for the UK time, I believe.
Okay, so reconvene at 8 p.m. And then, Nino, how long is your presentation going to be afterwards?
It can be as long as you want it to be. It's going to be very short on my part, and then Evan and Kevin are going to go in very specifics onto blockchain and answer any questions that people have.
Yeah,
For my portion, 30 minutes.
Yeah, because Sarah is also going to be there for the guest lab session. So before guys go for prayer, basically, Sarah, you just
They've got to go.
Oh, they have to go for prayer.
Yeah, it's in 1 minute. They have 1 minute to be in prayer.
Okay. Could the person going for prayer just quickly drop off then? Okay, cool. So, all right.
Join the Discord.
Yeah, so guys, join the Discord for those of you who are not on the Discord. Then at 8 sharp, we're gonna come back and get this presentation done. And then we're gonna have the guest lab session with Sarah. So basically, Sarah is one of those people who've been in blockchain before people even knew what blockchain was. Like long time OG Sarah is. So we'll be back, and she'll be able to take further questions. And Sarah will also be having an instructor session later on this week, and she's really gonna, try to explain how the ecosystem works together. Okay, so see you guys at the top of the hour promptly.
I'll still be here talking, just answering questions, but
Okay.
we'll just with the intent to not go to the content until
Until the prayer
time
person
for
comes. All right.
correct. Exactly.
All right, cool. So, okay, Sarah.
So I'm going to be back in the general no long ting.
Okay.
This is where I'll be ask your questions here.
Okay, Sarah, I've made you co-host as well. And if you have any presentation or anything, it's gonna be ready when we are back at the top of the hour. Okay, cool. Nino, I think you have a
Yes.
question from Jackson Olagbaju. You wanna help? You wanna assist him?
Let's see. Where are we at?
And do you wanna post
Can I
the?
channel my ideathon on an electoral sector of my country? You can try, but if you don't have any control over the electoral sector of your country, you would have to buy in that adoption from the people that do control it. So it's a very hard, not unrealistic, not impossible, but just difficult thing to attain.
Jackson,
If a pitch, I'm sorry.
Hi, Nino. Good evening.
Hello.
Hi, Nino. Yeah, good evening. Okay, so in order not to waste our time, I just need to ask. So this is actually my first time attending this kind of session, so to say. I'm actually a lawyer, so I'm just trying to. I've listened. I joined yesterday and I listened to the session, which was quite insightful. And now today, so I just have a bit of kind of concern. My focal point when I actually joined this boot camp to see how I can actually marry technology with my law practice. So I've been into other areas of law, but I actually haven't been into, I have not done anything related to tech law. And I think that's why I actually joined this boot camp. So, but thus far, it seems like, I stand to be corrected, it seems like the session centers around what's it called? Tech, being a tech, being like going into tech, being a developer and the likes. I don't know if you could actually, because I'm just thinking out loud in my head how, I can actually, the knowledge or the insights I'll actually get from this session, how I can just marry it with my law practice, especially when it boils down to tech law. No, I don't know if you can actually, say something in respect to that.
So how could you
Yeah, so
apply
Yes.
it
that's
to
just it.
tech law? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. Maybe I can answer you from like a really practical perspective on what are the
Yeah.
ways that you could use blockchain technology and all your knowledge that you have on blockchain and Bitcoins to an actual practice of the law. What do you do as a crypto lawyer, right? So I can tell you what
Yes.
I've seen. Yeah, I can tell you what I've seen and what I do. So in my work as a planner, I work with a lot of estate planning crypto lawyers. So we are in the space of, okay, what happens if you die, and what should your will and estate planning say regarding your crypto assets, right? And to be a really good estate planning crypto lawyer, you have to have a very good knowledge of the technology itself, because you have to be able to do discovery for the client. And as you know, as a practitioner, that discovery really means disclosure. It means having your clients to tell you what they own, so that you can help them do estate planning for their assets. So what does it mean, estate planning for crypto assets? It really means threading their assets into their wills. Now, as you know, wills are public documents. Anybody, when they die, if you have a little bit of money, you can just pay the registry and you can get a copy of that will, which paradoxically poses a huge issue for crypto keys and crypto assets, right? Because you don't want anybody to know and you want to keep them secret. So there is a very good finesse and a way of drafting wills that will alert the executor to the existence of cryptocurrency without divulging any information about either your keys or your wallet. All of that more granular information stays in a separate document, which is a letter of wishes. The other way that you can help your clients, beside a death, is to do tax and crypto taxation. As you know, the difference between an accountant and a lawyer is that lawyer creates privilege with their clients. And therefore, if you become if you become really alert on the taxation of crypto assets, either as a capital gain, consider capital property, or as income, if you have clients that are in the business of either mining crypto assets or trading crypto assets, then you could become a really great crypto tax lawyer, which is, you're not doing tax returns for your clients. You're just telling them and educating them and giving them legal advice over the taxation of these assets, depending also where they are located. the other part would be, if you have clients that are artists, is to advise them on the copyrability and what are NFTs from a point of view of certificate of authenticity, and also how to protect, and when we say crypto asset and blockchain assets, how to protect anything that they own on a blockchain. If you have, for example, artists, and they're creating NFTs, advising them that they need to upload a contract to the NFT in the link, and to save that contract with the digital copy of the digital art in an IPSS file. So you could become a great, art lawyer that specializes on crypto art. So there are many more things with the, as you probably know, with the advent of real assets, wrapped NFTs. You now can tokenize real estate. And I don't know if you've seen any contract for the sale and the purchase of, real estate assets using Bitcoin. So you can become actually a real estate lawyer that specializes in contracts for the purchase and sales of real estate assets that deals with Bitcoins. One of the thing is to understand when the risk shift between buyers and seller. The other one is to anchor the price of the real estate to a fiat currency and decides on, for example, a formula to decide, how to stabilize the foreign exchange. I call it foreign exchange, but the exchange between the cost of an asset in fiat, wherever the buyer and the sellers are physically, and the Bitcoin or the ETH or whatever other digital currencies decide to use. So there are many different ways, and there's going to be more and more ways that as a lawyer you can specialize yourself and help clients.
Sorry, there's someone in the background who's a bit noisy. Do you want to mute until it's time for you to speak?
How do I do that? Post tools. Mute
All
all.
right. Does anybody have a particular question for Sarah, or does she continue? Lawal? Nino?
Yes.
There's a background behind you. Is it you?
No, it's not me. It's quiet here.
Okay. Let me mute everybody. I'm muting everybody. Then Sarah, you'll put your mic back on, okay? Because there are people who really want to listen to you. Okay, Sarah.
Okay. Yeah. So as you can imagine, there are many different ways. If you think of a way of doing law for real assets, for real life assets, you can think of a way of doing the same for crypto assets, right? So the only difference is that it will require you to be a tech lawyer. So a lawyer that can look through the, incorporeal nature of your assets. I call it incorporeal assets because there are smart assets, there are self-executing assets. Some of the assets may be on-chain or off-chain. You have to have a great fluency in how the technology works. To be honest, I will push it even further. And notwithstanding the fact that there is a chat GPT for coding now, I will actually push it even further and tell you that if you know something about coding, if you know something about the language in which these assets are built, such as Solidity or Java or other type of complex coding languages, that will even bring you in a further elite status, because now you can have a look at the code. As you know, even if you use codes from a ChatGPT, and I've done my own my own experiments on it, you have to have patterns and you have to have superiority over the agents, over the AI agent, and therefore it requires you to be able to at least retrieve information from Etherscans from GitHub, and the ability to see if there is, a virtual weakness in the code itself that will make it problematic to be uploaded on a specific chain. So depending on your fluency over the technology, your fluency over the code, your fluency over what these assets are, your ability to, for example, follow oracles, right, and use oracles. I have to tell you that the more you are going to be using artificial intelligence and agentism for instead of or as a bridge with oracles, you'll be able to again differentiate yourself and distinguish your practice within a firm or within a planning environment, whatever your job may be. So I'll leave it like that. And sorry, I'm terrible at multitasking. I don't know if people are asking questions, or maybe Brian, you could
thanks,
you can
Sarah.
tell.
Listen, Sarah, you've
Yeah.
come like, you're blazing it up, blazing it up. There's a few questions. Lawal had raised his hand up, and somebody else had raised their hand up. If you want to ask Sarah a question, and guys, listen, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Sarah is coming back. I keep telling y'all, but y'all don't listen. Sarah don't come to play, man. Sarah is having a full session later this week. Y'all better come recognize this, yeah? So everybody with questions. Favor, let's start with Favor. Favor, and then Lawal, please. Let's hear you.
All right, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we hear you,
Can you-
Favor.
Yes, thank you so much for this section. I'm actually, connecting from Nigeria, and I've been a student of the fifth work concerning blockchain, its basics and all of that. But after our studies, I want to use Nigeria as a context, because from the introduction, we're meant to know that, okay, we are to look at challenges around us and then submit ideas that are relevant. But there are still lots of challenges to the implementation of blockchain technology in Nigeria. Number one, the government's, uncertainty, inconsistent policies. There are no clear policies, so I don't know to what extent it will affect the incubation of our ideas. And then the issue of energy. Yes, because blockchain, especially proof of work based, the proof of work based network like Bitcoin requires significant computational power. And we have challenge as to the electricity challenges and deployment. So I don't know if all of this I've mentioned, the issue of security and cyber risk, as long as blockchain is actually lauded for its security level, it's still not immune to risks like hacking, fraud, and scams, especially phishing attacks and all of that. I don't know if this will go a long way in limiting us thus far, because
Favor, we've lost you, but Sarah, I guess you've gotten the gist of the question, yeah?
I do, and thank you so much, Favor, for bringing these up, because and sorry, I came in a little bit late, so I don't know how much you guys have talked or explored the idea of legislation and using laws to kind of protect this environment. And to be honest,
that's for your session. Right now, we're still yesterday was blockchain 101. Today is blockchain 202.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So
okay, I'm
yeah,
not going to go into that, but just to finish, the thought, and to address her two issues, the lack of legislation, the risks, and the energy consumption, which are all kind of the pivotal issues around the blockchain technology. I can tell you that this shouldn't be, dissuading anyone to get into the system, and especially from a legal perspective or a tax perspective or an efficiency perspective, and even from a political perspective. you could become your beacon to actually find solutions, right? So if those are the problems, those problems are just the opportunity to find solutions. So for example, in the energy in the consumption energy part, well, this should spur incredible new technology to try to do what? Recycle entropy, be more environmentally efficient, or finding other blockchain protocols that will allow, for example, to reduce the energy consumption. For example, ETH and the Ethereum blockchain, when it went from proof of work to proof of stake, increase the efficiency of the entire blockchain 2,400%. So OpenAI and their protocol, which is the iris scanning protocol, which require even less use of energy to upload and verify transactions. So I think that if there is a problem or an issue, there may be an opportunity to look at invention. And I have great belief in African entrepreneurship and inventivity. So recognizing that there is a problem there, it could just spur to trying to find a solution. And maybe we should concentrate on trying to find a solution. I wanted to say one word, and I'm not going to go into the legislation part, but one word about legislation and policies and cybersecurity. That's another great field for experts and for blockchain techie, especially in the legal field, to concentrate on. Go for it. Try to come up with ideas on how to legislate and finding policy and governance that could be embedded in those systems from either a civil law code perspective or a common law case-based and statute perspective. So I will leave it like that, but thank you for that question.
So Sarah, Nino is about to pick up his main session at 8, but do you quickly want to roll up Home PC's question, Lawal's question, and Fazui's question in like 2 minutes, and then we jump off to Nino's session, please? Home PC.
Okay, so I can't see the question. So can you just tell me what the question was? Sorry.
Home PC.
My screen. Yeah.
Okay, we can't hear you, Home PC. Time is money. Fazui Abidemi, you have a question, please. Mic on.
Okay, good evening. It's evening over here. I'm from Nigeria. Thank you, Sarah, for contribution. But I want to know, I know we can use blockchain in almost every services. Me coming from the engineering background and seeing a lot of problem in Africa, especially in Nigeria, I think I've asked this question on Discord. I'm really curious to know how can blockchain, how can it affect real estate services? How can it affect engineering services? If there's any way we can work around that area. I know about health, I know about education, but what can blockchain really do to engineering as a whole? Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, knee-jerk reaction, just to be cognizant of the time. First thing in real estate, create a real estate up-to-date registry for connecting title and exchanging title. Having a blockchain-based memorialized system that is super robust will add transparency, efficiency, and cost, lower the cost of registering title, and it will allow for understanding and knowledge, so protection also of your real estate assets. It will also add the ability to, especially our public real estate commission work, to see the bidding process, right? It will add a layer of transparency over who's bidding, what the prices, what the end prices would have been, would add competition on that transparency layer. but also maintaining the history of public work, and keeping everybody kind of true and real over, the arc of a project, like an engineering project, such as a building of a well. It could be as simple as that, or creating, new housing in a village, or creating new bridges or new roads to connect places. You can actually, by using blockchain, you can actually see every single point and progression over the development of the project. So your mind is in the right place. Just go above the technology itself and look at what the benefit could be from the simple building blocks over the overarching of the projects. And things could actually be tracked by simple QR codes. How nice would it be to have a QR code on top of every public building or even private projects that will actually show the history of the project itself from the start to the end, and where all the funds are coming from, permits that have been required, public procurement, and all this other stuff. It would add a layer of honesty and accessibility to information that now we possibly don't have. So I'll leave it like that, cognizant of the time, but thank you for
Thanks, Sarah. So guys, listen, Sarah is going to be around. She's our mentor in the guest lab today. So all those questions, all that stuff you want to ask, she's going to help you understand. And right now, Nino and his crew are taking over, but Sarah is still with us. And Sarah is going to have a full-on session later on this week. You have your timetables with you, so you know when she's coming. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Nino, back to you.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, Nino.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah. Nino, you
All right.
wanna unpin me from your screen, please?
Yep. Let's see if I can do that. It won't let me make it small. It normally gives me like a little blue thing, and it doesn't.
Okay, cool.
No,
Anyway,
it's not
as
letting
long
me.
as your presentation isn't compromised, you just.
Nah, it should be fine.
All right, cool. That's fine.
CIA, we're going to talk about CIA a little bit. And this is going to be touching on what a lot of your questions are, actually. So this is just one example of how we are applying blockchain technology to solve a very simple relationship that exists pretty much in every information system. So that's what the CIA is about. So CIA, who's heard of confidentiality, integrity, and availability? Is this pretty common for most people? Let me get the Discord up on my screen, my other screen. Exactly. Most of you know what this is, right? If you don't, we're going to go over it real quick. Very simple. Let me go to next. All right. So confidentiality. I have information that I don't want other people to get. So normally you would protect that with encryption or some other form of like a lock behind a door that only one person has the key to. So what does that mean when you're talking about information-wise? There's information that exists that I don't want anyone else to get. Well, the problem with that is if you lock it down too much, you got it behind 12 keys, encryption, it's buried at the bottom of the ocean so that only you can get to it. It's completely unavailable at that point. So there's a relationship between these concepts. So you have confidentiality, only people that should have access to it. Then I'm gonna scroll down to integrity. The information that's there, how can you know that it's true and not tampered with? And then the other one is availability. Can I actually access it?
Nino, before you proceed, there's a message I just received from a student. She's like, there's a nationwide power outage in Nigeria. That's why some of us are absent today. So just let them know they're going to this recording. It's all right, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. This recording will be available. That's totally fine. I mean, this isn't a perfect example of availability. So this class that we have right now is unavailable to certain people. well, how can we use blockchain to make sure that these services are available? That's the kind of thinking that I want to have you guys be cognizant of as you're going through this boot camp. You're experiencing a problem. Is there a way to apply blockchain to solve this problem and make money? So that's a big problem. There's lots of ways to solve the problem, but someone has to want to fund it. So we're going to watch a quick video on what CIA is down here. It's just a very quick 4-minute video. Make sure everyone can
It's
see
not the CIA you're thinking of.
Can you see this? Can you hear it?
The CIA triad. In information security, this means confidentiality, integrity, and availability. It's an organizational model designed to guide policy around storing data and information. Because of the inevitable confusion with the federal government CIA, you might also see it as the AIC triad. What's important is that each letter represents a foundational principle in cybersecurity: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. After you learn the basics of the CIA triad, click the link above or in the description below to dig deeper into the methods of preventing cyber attacks. And subscribe to Ion Tech for more videos on all things business tech and security. Let's break down each component of the triad. Confidentiality is a set of rules that limits access to information. It's comparable to privacy. Ensuring confidentiality means the right people can access sensitive information, while the wrong people cannot. This can be accomplished through methods like data encryption, multi-factor authentication, and biometric verification.
Okay, so that was okay, that's fine. So you guys just saw confidentiality. Who would like to solve a problem with confidentiality? What problems do you guys have keeping your information secret from other people? Check out the chat. See, banking details. There you go. That's a huge thing in Nigeria, I know for sure. You guys have those limited caps on how much money you can withdraw, that you're having to send money to other people as well. What's the question again? Keeping information confidential. Academic results. What is some information that is currently available to everybody that you would like to keep secret? That's a good one. Keeping your emails secret. Voting. Any codes that you have, your ID numbers. So there you go. Scammers take advantage and pass the banking security to steal money. Your digital footprint, your ID cards. There you go, securing your documents. So a good big thing about storing your documents on the blockchain is you may have to encrypt them to put them on the blockchain, but you don't even have to have the entire forms or all this information on the blockchain. You just have to have it verifiable that it hasn't been changed if you want to make the integrity correct. Hold on, I'm getting a lot of answers. Whistleblowing. So this is information that you want to keep confidential, right? Now we're going to go and move on to the next one because it's a trade-off. You can't just, whoops, of course. Nobody look. Let me stop sharing my screen real quick. Oh no, it's blacked. All right, the video is not letting me play anymore. Can you hear me still?
Nino, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? I think
Yeah, we can hear you. Can't see you.
okay. Okay, good. So, I mean, the idea is I want you to see. I want you to see. Yeah, it's cut off. Let me see if I can share the video again. I can just go into Studio and I'll pull the actual link real quick so that we can watch it. Edit. This isn't something you guys will do. This is just me grabbing a link for the video. Skip ahead.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm just watching the video with you guys. Can you not hear it?
No.
You
Don't
can't
see
hear
No
it.
video, there's nothing. Like it's radio silence.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was watching the video. It's not playing then. Okay.
Yeah, so
I
I was
apologize.
confused. Like,
No,
what's going
Nino.
on?
No, share the video in the group, man. Time,
I'll just
TikTok,
drop it.
TikTok.
I mean, it's not even that important of a video. I feel so bad now. It's just a quick video that just explains CIA. So
Yeah.
it talks about oh, that you guys are probably so confused now. Okay,
Yeah, we're
so
like, are we having a
CIA
minute of silence?
confidentiality is keeping people away from information that shouldn't have it. And then you have integrity, where it's is the information correct? Is it valid? Has it been changed? And then availability. Can you actually access the information? So I come from a cybersecurity background, right? And they say the most secure computer is the one that's destroyed at the bottom of the ocean. That's the only information that's completely secure because no one can get to it. But that doesn't really do us any good. So what we are doing is we are using the blockchain to not store the information itself, but to store little keys that help us verify that the information hasn't been changed, while also keeping anyone else from accessing it. Because if we just throw these documents like our ID cards, if we throw our ID cards on the chain, well, anyone can access that. It's no longer confidential, but it's accessible to everybody. So you have this balance between confidential, available, and the integrity. So how many of you actually know what a blockchain is? I'm not sharing anything right now. I can go back to my screen. Here we go. Bum, bum, bum. Technical difficulties are terrible. It says I'm showing my screen. Do you guys see it now?
No, nothing, I think
How about now? Should it be
just
good?
come back to your original screen,
There we go. Can you see it?
Yeah, now we see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize, everybody. Okay, so hopefully we didn't lose too long. So
We need some
confidentiality.
tokens, for our time.
Ensuring, I'm sorry?
We need some tokens for our time.
Yeah, in exchange for compensation. So you have on the chain, you have a rather than actually storing the document and encrypting it, you can, and then it is available to everybody. And anyone that has the key and can decrypt it can actually access it. So you have it available, you have it confidential, and you can ensure that the integrity is there because it's already on the chain. So as most of you know, and if you don't, I'm gonna tell you, a blockchain works by taking a block of information, running it through a encryption process that produces some sort of like key. that you can run any bit of information and it'll produce a different key. Only the exact same information will produce the exact same key. But you can't use that key to recreate the information. You can simply use that key to verify that the information hasn't changed. So if you put that key, you can put that key on the blockchain, and that information doesn't necessarily have to be there, but the blockchain works by creating a copy of the previous block, generating that key, and then putting that key in the information of the next block, so that as the chain continues, that information can't be changed. Because if anyone ever tried to change it, the previous block wouldn't make sense, the key would not match. So hopefully Evan can explain this better later on, but just generically, if anyone tries to change the information on a blockchain, it doesn't make sense anymore, and you can know that it's not the same information. That ensures integrity. You can encrypt it before you put it on the chain, which ensures its confidentiality, and you can ensure its integrity, confidentiality, and it's available because it's on the chain. So he'll get into DeFi, and he'll get into other explanations as to why this is important. But what we are doing for this bootcamp is we are presenting to you ideas and problems that exist, like this information security problem, and how the blockchain is being used to protect this information or accomplish these goals. So, for instance, you talked about engineering data. And the Sarah, I believe her name was, explained that you could have these QR codes that show you where the money is gone. Well, you can ensure with a blockchain that those money amounts haven't changed. Who got the money hasn't changed. You know that the integrity of that ledger is intact through a blockchain. So that's just one example of how it can be applied to, the engineering sector. So when you're going through this bootcamp, think, this problem that I'm coming up against, how can I leverage this technology to address these problems? I think that's the gist of what I wanted to cover right here. And then we're going to go real world applications. So for fifth work, I'm going to show you in the next slide, page. Go back to the course. How we are using this to improve a community. So in Africa, specifically South Africa, there's a large portion of the community that doesn't go through all of their education. And so what we are doing with these micropayments, well, let me go back to fifth work. Fifth work is a learn to earn platform, which we discussed. We rewarded students directly in Bitcoin SV based on how well they performed in the class. That also proves on the chain itself how well a student did in their class. But because their name isn't associated with the token or their wallet, you would have to have some sort of certificate or some other method to prove that a student had gone through this class. But it does provide a perfect record of what education a person or a key, a wallet, has achieved. So as we are sending, and our ultimate goal, as you can see on the last bullet there, fifth work aims to provide children and adults in all cultures access to global knowledge. So as a student goes through a math class, let's say they only make it through 5 grades. Well, when they're applying for jobs or when they are, trying to prove their education to somebody, they haven't graduated, but they do have some valid education. We can use the blockchain to prove that they accomplished these educational goals. We are using the micropayments of the BSV education. We reward each student by every question that they answer. So a micropayment, if you didn't know, is we are able to transact with basically no fee. it doesn't cost us anything to use BSV. So I can send money to a student for every question they answered, whether it's correct or not. This micropayment instantly. So as you are going through our educational courses, you are rewarded for exactly how far you've gone through this education. Any questions? I'm sorry, I jumped around a little bit. You can't access fifth work. So right now the website isn't hosted, or the website is hosted, but there's no courses hosted right now. So you're not going to see any courses if you do go to the fifth work. Well, exactly. The reward comes from in fifth work, depending on who is hosting the courses. So we provide business education. So if a large organization wants to educate or reward their engineers for going through some sort of educational program, then their engineers are incentivized to take that course. And exactly. So if you have an online course, you can, there you go. See, you guys will actually go through this and experience this. The final for this course is actually hosted on fifth work. So everyone in this course will go through a final. Correct. The NITA cohort was like that.
Walk me
Someone's
down.
speaking.
Sorry, Nino, I've muted everybody, especially those being walked down, but you can unmute your microphone, please.
There. So I'm back. Thank you.
All right, cool.
I appreciate that. Someone was walking on it. So going back to the questions. Can the blockchain manager access data? No, they cannot. Depending on the blockchain that you're using. Some blockchains can, but BSV no. And it's also how you put the information on the chain. If you keep it on the chain unencrypted, and you're the only person that has the key, or I'm sorry, unencrypted, then anyone can access that information. But if you've encrypted it, depending on what encryption you're using, then no one should be able to access it. The NITA cohort should have been rewarded based on how well you did at the course. We use blockchain for storage. Is the actual data stored on the blockchain? It can be. You can create a hash of that information and store just the hash so that you can provide that encrypted document to somebody else and verify that the hash hasn't changed. Or you can put it on the blockchain itself. The BSV was negligible, yes. So from the NITA course, we did not provide the rewards. Fifth work did not. The BSV from NITA was more about empowering you to interact with the blockchain and the community. Yes, you can use any other blockchain that you want. After importing our account. Everyone, as you went through the course, you should have, if you had a wallet on your account, you would have been rewarded. If the blockchain stores a hash, then where's the actual information stored? You can store it however, any other way that you want. It depends on the solution that you're talking about. So, Evan, do you want to take this next question? In blockchain, it is said that those with higher computing power. Evan, are you there?
Yeah.
Do you want to take that question?
Let's see. I might
If you're
have
looking
just
at my
had to wait
screen,
for a second.
if the
Let me-
blockchain stores the hash, where's the actual information? Not that one, I'm sorry. In blockchain, it is said that those with high computing power can take control of the blockchain.
So I think in this question, this gentleman is talking about a 51% attack, which, you know, in proof of work, what that means is if you have more than 51% or 51% or more hash power of the network, then you can do something malevolent, theoretically, perhaps double spend or reassign coins. But the reality is that is generally a bit overblown for a few reasons. One, even if a miner does have 51% or more hash power, it doesn't allow them to make any changes to anybody else's transactions. So, at the most, they would maybe be able to double spend their own coins, so their own transactions, which is still a problem, no doubt. But it's something that can be identified. And if that occurs, the honest nodes in the network, they can actually, there's a few actions they can take. They can kick that, in the terms of BSV, they can actually kick that miner out of the network. And so, eventually that miner would be stuck on their own fork of BSV, for instance, which would generally just probably die. So it's not like a big problem, and yeah, but it sounds like it, right? It sounds like it, but there's workarounds for it. It's important to remember that when it comes to proof of work, Bitcoin, that what really matters is the honest nodes, and the white paper makes that quite clear, right? So even if somebody has a longer chain, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the honest chain, right? So, a lot of people say, oh, okay, well, this is the longer chain, so it must be the right chain. But it's only the right chain if it's also the honest chain, meaning there hasn't been, double spends and other aspects that of dishonest behavior. And so people have to kind of remember that, taking into account Bitcoin particularly. I hope that helped.
Nino, I have a question for you in terms of the
Yes.
sequence. Yeah, you see, with the student questions coming in, and while you
Yeah,
present, it kind of throws off the sequence. So
it did. It did.
what's the next subsequent step? Because with the guest lounge, the guest lab rather, some of these concepts that you're trying to present can be, whittled down further by Sarah as the guest lecturer today. So,
Okay.
because I know Evan has a presentation to make and Kevin has a presentation as well to make. So we could literally still take most of the
Oh yeah,
questions.
Kevin had to leave. Sorry.
Kevin had to
no,
leave.
Yeah,
Okay.
and my presentation's pretty open, so I can do whatever.
that's
So
fine.
you can have Sarah
I-
or whoever
Okay,
go
cool.
before
So
me.
Sarah, I guess you can join this session then, so that we have one proper session as opposed to fractionalizing and then, going and recoiling.
So I'm sorry. Can you hear me? So I just brought up the Q&A from last session, and these are what I was going to have Evan speak to, because he's more of an expert on these things as well. I don't know if they want to tag team these concepts.
By all means, yeah.
So would you mind if Evan goes and discusses the first one, because he had brought that up, or he
Yeah,
had
Evan, by
brought that
all
up.
means, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay,
Yeah.
let me just get my camera up here. Trust me, I'm probably cannot start video camera. Huh. Okay. I don't know. Sorry about that. You're gonna have to stare at this black screen. I don't look that great either, so it's probably better off this way. Yeah, proof of work as an economic security model, right? Proof of work is a really interesting thing, because people talk about Bitcoin and energy consumption and all this, but what's the point, right? Like, why? And ultimately it's about skin in the game. It's about skin in the game, and it's about, if you mess up, you're gonna lose. Okay, if you deceive, if you act dishonestly, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose what? You're gonna lose a few things. First, you're gonna lose the cost of electricity that you've used, that your hashers have used to generate that proof of work. And so that means there's an inherent cost to being a part of the network and participating in the transaction validation process, right? So what that means is when I'm building a block as a miner, I'm paying for that energy to run those computers, to process those transactions, to then find a difficult, essentially a nonce, a number used once that answers a difficult mathematical equation that effectively requires brute forcing, just throwing randomized numbers and hoping that your hashers will have found that correct number. And that takes energy. That costs energy. It also costs money to buy those ASIC computers, right? So it's a really real thing. It's very physical, and there's real cost to it. And if you screw up, you will lose real money. And so that's kind of the economic security model for Bitcoin. Really, is being able to put up effectively your resources to say, hey, I've done the work. It's worth your time to make sure that my block is correct, and if it isn't, then I will lose that money. Not only will I lose that money, but I'll also lose the opportunity cost. And that means that if I had, for instance, if I do a double spend, and I put that block, if I propose that block to the network to be added to the chain, that means I've spent money creating that block. And if I do submit it and the network sees it and they know it's a double spend, because at least in BSV and what Bitcoin's supposed to be, is that there should be as soon as a transaction is broadcast to the network, that first seen transaction is considered the valid one. And so in that case, if there's a second transaction that negates that one, then that's automatically considered an invalid transaction. And if I put a block with an invalid transaction on it, the network will know, because the other miners have seen that first transaction. And so they'll know that my block is dishonest. So by proposing that block, I am, it's almost, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. That's the key thing. It's a waste of money, and time is money, right? You could have used that time and that energy to produce a valid block and been rewarded for it. And when we're talking about, millions of transactions in, very, very large blocks, that can, even with a very tiny transaction fee, that can amount to a lot of money. So you're losing if you're broadcasting blocks to the network that are effectively dishonest. So proof of work is skin in the game. It means that you have something to lose if you don't act by the rules of the network. And so it's not just, excessive energy, expenditure for no reason. In fact, at scale, the energy consumed by hashing is a minute fraction of that is currently being consumed by the banks and the global financial system currently. So, when it comes to energy and all that, if you really are wanting to conserve energy, and at the moment, yes, it's not super clear, right? Because, things are, the haze, which frankly, all of you should be welcoming, right? Because unclarity allows for opportunity. But in this time, it's still not fully clear to everybody that, massively scalable public proof of work blockchain can, be the answer to so many of our problems. So, once that becomes clear, right, and once people realize how scalable it is and how little it does cost compared to our current, infrastructure and system, then I think you'll see just a huge jump in the capabilities of human civilization. We will see the next great renaissance, all in my mind, and because of my research, because of proof of work, and to kind of highlight why proof of work provides this level of security that proof of stake doesn't. I would like to just sort of mention that if you are a validator on a proof of stake network, and there is a fork in the chain, your stake on both chains will be the same. You will be a validator on both chains. And this presents a sort of misalignment when it comes to ensuring that the chain progresses in an honest and straightforward fashion, right? With proof of work, if the chain splits, I cannot have 100% of my hash power on both chains. I can mine 50% on BTC. I can mine 50% on BSV or BCH, because hash power is finite. It requires real things. It requires real energy. It requires real computers. And so you cannot just, copy and paste it to another, and have double, right? You can't just double it, right? You can only divide it. Where proof of stake is effectively unlimited in the amount of chains and stakes that you could have, and that's not a good thing, because as each fork occurs, your stake will be repeated, cloned effectively. Right. So the incentive to have a single chain is lost. Now you could say, oh, well, what about, Bitcoin? There's BTC, there's BSV, there's BCH, there's, I don't know if Bitcoin Gold's, even still around or not. And yes, this was somewhat of an unforeseen, an unforeseen by, we can think, at least we can't say for certain, but it wasn't really foreseen. And the reason why it wasn't really foreseen, Evan, was because there wasn't this kind of scaling debate in the beginning. Like this wasn't really an issue until much later, and that really was something that caused this massive divide. And so yeah, we are living in, at the moment, I guess you could say, like a multi-chain Bitcoin world, despite these limitations that hash power provides when it comes to determining a single valid chain. But it will,
Evan,
it's not, oh yeah, sorry.
Evan, sorry. Well, I'm watching the clock.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'll just say though that, and I'll finish.
You want to
this
wrap
thought.
up and then you pass it on to Sarah as well?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So, I'll just say that, proof of work, despite, Bitcoin, in a sense, being fractured or fractionalized, it's, proof of work, it eventually will remerge to one chain, because all proof of work is effectively, all Bitcoin proof of work is economically focused. It's about making money. And so whichever chain allows for the most money to be made, the miners will move there, right? And so whether that will be by very small, large value transactions few but very large value transactions as on BTC as like some kind of settlement layer, or whether that will be, you know, billions of very, very small feed transactions, you know, in terabyte size blocks on BSV. And whichever version will be most profitable, that's where the miners are going to move to. So there will be a reemergence at some point.
All right.
Okay.
Evan.
I don't know if that's a little too deep for a lot of people.
Well,
but
we'll
yeah.
rehash it again. So
Yeah.
let's hear Sarah's point on
Yes,
that,
please.
and then we'll come
Yeah.
back.
So thank you, Evan. I mean, that was incredible and a really great deep dive. However, and I have no idea about the audience, and I apologize again for coming into this a little bit later. But maybe I'm going to state the obvious, but I would like to take it like a step back for the sake of everybody being on the same level playing field, and just start from what the heck is proof of anything? You know, what is the proof of work? What is proof of stakes? What are this? Well, these things are protocols. There are rules of engagement that every different blockchain have to function. So maybe we could take it a step even further back and say, well, what is the blockchain? So the blockchain, the best definition I can give you is that it's a digital ledger, right? It records a transaction of digital assets. And the best way that I can, you know, explain that is to bring you back to what the heck is a ledger to start with. So, and I can explain. I hope by the end of this you'll have an aha moment. So let's go back to the Egyptian times when there was a pharaoh that lived in a pyramid that had some minions that used to go out in different villages to take, you know, informations about what was exchanged, and particularly they were taking taxes back into the pharaoh's pyramid. So every time these people went into a village, they used to have tablets, like clay tablets, in which there were information inscribed into it. On one side of the ledger, there was, you know, villager A gave 100 sacks of grain to the pharaoh. So the villager A had a minus 100 and the pharaoh had a plus 100. Then all the tablets at the end of the day were collected and brought back to the pharaoh in the pyramid. That is an example of a centralized pyramid power, centralized data ledger. And the data was regarding what? The taxes, the things that people were giving to the pharaoh and the things that the pharaoh were collecting. Now, if you bring that idea to the blockchain, and the revolution of blockchain is that the blockchain is a digital ledger, so it's in digital format, and it's about transaction that comes into digitally. So for example, if you wanted to keep track of what? Emails, sending money electronically, all of that could be done digitally, is a digital asset, and is recorded. The entries of this information are recorded in this digital ledger. Now, the beauty of it and the difference between a centralized system and a decentralized is that we don't have a pyramid and we don't have a pharaoh that collects this information. It's all bunch of computers all together that download that blockchain system or protocol that at the same time have and records the same amount of information. So if I plug in my computer, download the blockchain, the Bitcoin, the Ethereum blockchain protocol, all of the sudden I get, one by one, any type of transaction that is happening on that type of blockchain is recorded and is visible into my computer. That, what is a blockchain? Is decentralized. There is no one pharaoh. We're all our own pharaohs. We're all, owning a piece of the digital information universe. And it is disseminated or distributed throughout all of these computers. So decentralization talks to, there is no one form of power that has that data information, and distribution is about the location of that data. That data is distributed across all the computers that are part of the network. Now, the Bitcoin blockchain revolution happened in 3 ways. Not only it allowed for data to be encrypted, and Mino and Evans have talked a lot about encrypting information. So creating a layer of security, confidentiality, and safety around the data before it's even put on a blockchain, before it's even recorded. But it's also created a mechanism to incentivize the ability to create a network, and this incentivize reward system. And I saw a lot about rewards in the chat before, is the Bitcoin. So it's fantastically enough, Satoshi Nakamoto, who or she or they may have been, studied behavioral economics. And behavioral economics is based on the assumption that if you nudge people to do something by giving them rewards, they will participate and they will act in a certain ways. So the Bitcoin is the reward that is given to the miners, who are the people and the agents out there, the computers, they are resolving those algorithms that participate and verify the information, and they upload it on the blockchain. So you get rewarded by getting a Bitcoin, or in this case, a little bit of a percentage of a Bitcoin, 3.25, whatever it is, of a Bitcoin from 10 they used to be when it all started, the old system. So the Bitcoin is a reward. Now, once you get the reward, what you can create is an economy based around the reward. So, for example, you can trade your Bitcoin, you can gift your Bitcoin, you can stake, you can lend your Bitcoin to other people. So you create a Bitcoin, if you wish, economy around it, around this, reward system. Now, because of all of that, it is a super robust system. If you think back to the Egyptian idea of having one pharaoh with one pyramid, well, if people were around it, it could have been easily surrounded and taken down, right? If you have data and information now stored into a distributed, network of computers, then you're making the system super anti-fragile. You're supercharging your data collection, and you're making it super strong. Now, the different type of blockchains have different type of protocols, and the protocols tells us how the information that is exchanged is actually compressed, hashed, compressed, and uploaded onto the actual chain. So how that mechanism happens is described in the protocol. So proof of work protocol is based on the solving a very difficult algorithm by different computers. So it's based on the fact that there is computers that are using energy, that are giving energy to the system, and they are all of a sudden being asked to resolve the algorithm. And the first computer that resolves the algorithm gets a reward, right? So the more powerful the algorithm, because the algorithm changes all the time, they're based on randomness, the more the reward, the faster the computer system gets the reward. Proof of stake, as the name says, is based on Ethereum holders, and you have to have 39 ETH to participate. They stake their ETH, their 39 coins, to be able to participate in the verification system. So every protocol is based on a different having skin in the game, so to speak, as Evan was saying. And they give up different things. On one side, you give up the accessibility of the coins on the Ethereum blockchain, because you have to stake those coins and to participate to the verification system. On the other one, you give up energy and computer power. because you have to resolve that, very difficult algorithm. So I'm gonna stop there, but I hope that that helped you guys to really understand, the really like being brilliant at the basics, because everything else is built on top of it. Like NFTs are built on top of it, and everything else is built on those very, very simple building blocks of what a blockchain is.
So, Sarah, I have a question for both you, Evan and Nino. So the concepts that you're breaking down are still very theoretical. What does it mean in this sort of setting where we have students who want to build startups or, concretize their ideas into the real world? What are the repercussions of POS as opposed to POW? I saw somebody asking, how can the blockchain improve my law firm? How can it be used to improve voting systems or medical records? So are we looking at people mining hospital records, like for verification purposes? Like, could you kind of bring it to the real world tangibility aspect?
Maybe I can help. And Sarah, thank you. That was really wonderful. And I think you did a great job. And yeah, I can
That
go a
was
little too
excellent.
deep
All of
sometimes.
you, Nino, excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just would say, what does all this mean, right? It means a few things. One, you have to think about longevity. You have to think about like global interoperability. And maybe I'm coming from a very like, I see this somewhat as a zero-sum game to a degree, that I do think that there will be eventually one blockchain. And that's not because, I don't want to get into the details of that right at the moment. But I think, when you talk about hospitals or, large corporations or governments, you're talking about something that needs to be able to work for everybody, that needs to be able to work where everybody can, that it breaks down these current barriers in the system, right? Where it's hard to communicate or move or own your own data, right? For instance, the hospital's not going to have my medical records, right? I'm going to have my medical records. They'll be stored in my wallet. I will share my medical records with those that I desire to, right? So all of a sudden things are going to look very different. And so if you're going to look for the long term, then you need to kind of figure out these kind of nuances in these networks and try to determine, okay, what is going to allow for these big changes to occur, right? And that would be where, if I'm looking at building a future business, I'll build on that network because I want to have the full benefits of that. But if I'm a lawyer right now and I want to participate in this economic activity, what I would do obviously is I would look at where the clients are, right? Like who needs a lawyer right now operating on the blockchain, or what is needed? Maybe it's needed on Ethereum, right? Maybe there's something there at the moment, right? And that has nothing to do with proof of stake or proof of work or any of this other stuff. It just comes down to being able to provide a service in a market that needs it.
Evan, there's a question from Lawal Mukhtar. Sarah, you guys want to take a question from
please.
Lawal Mukhtar? And before you take that question, I personally have another question for you. So in terms of one chain, a universal chain, it seems a bit romanticized and somewhat remote of an idea. So Polkadot.
We have one internet, right?
True,
we have one internet.
true. Yeah, but Evan, Polkadot tried to bring about this idea of parachains and interoperability, and we didn't see that going anywhere. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Can
sorry, go for it, sir.
No, I wanted just to interject, Evan, on something that you said, and maybe kind of differentiate something to answer, that observation, because I think you said two things that they're super important. So one, there is the idea of sovereignty, right? And disintermediation. You owning your own data, you owning your own fiat, digital fiat, means of exchange, and really have sovereignty over your own data because you own it, and there is no third party platform that comes between you and the blockchain, right? It's a direct intersection with a network that you're part of that makes it all work. And then there is the idea of the digital ledger and digital ledger's applications in real world. So one of the things that come to mind, and we have a lot of students from Nigeria, is like, what type of digital ledger would actually benefit your country? So what if there was a digital ledger for real estate title, in which it was absolutely transparent and clear who owned what, right? And guess what? Once you have that digital certificate that will represent your plot of land, you don't need anybody else to, as an intermediate, to exchange that plot of land. You can deal directly with another user, and there is no bank, no escrow, no real estate agent needed to make that transaction happening, to actually move one asset from one person to another person. But that, the proof, the evidence of that exchange is now, locked up in an amazing decentralized
Sorry, Sarah, just to admit that I'm trying to unmute the questions as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the second, I can give you examples. Like in California now, if you want to buy a car and insure it, the DMV will actually issue you for your driver license an NFT. So there are already examples of how people can actually use decentralized or, in this case, it's centralized because it's part of the DMV system, but digital ledgers to use, to have this information, to record information about your system and your attitude. Think about wills registry, how you can actually upload a will on a registry so that if you lose it or it gets destroyed in a flood or in a fire, there is still proof that document exists and there is a copy of it because it's been uploaded. Things like law firms. I heard law firms. Imagine having a depository of all your president's contracts, mergers and acquisition deals and negotiation, all securely and disintermediated by LexisNexis or Westlaw or any other platform. They're actually retained and owned by your law firm in a memorialized system that every lawyer can access. Or you can even have different type of regulatory, firm regulatory and policy access so that you have different level, right? Some people may be able to see certain information or the others, but no matter what, it's all recorded as part of the intellectual property of the firm. So I'm going to stop there, but those are very interesting nuance and
Okay.
Can I just say one thing?
Lawal,
Oh, sorry, Brian.
Sorry. Nino, that's you?
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I just want to say something as well. So if you are a lawyer and you're wanting to store these documents on the chain for your clients, you can charge your clients for this. So that's where that money comes in. I'm trying to bring this back to the real world, is how do you make money off of this? How are you building this? So it sounds like there's a lot of lawyers in here. If you guys are to collaborate and build some sort of, what's the word? Database of these, a central location for all of these types of different documents. I'm not a lawyer, but please collaborate. Go to the Discord, create a lawyers group, do your lawyer thing. I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you. Sarah, you're wonderful.
Thanks, Nino. Lawal,
Hello.
please. Yeah, Lawal.
Okay. Yes, my name is Lawal Mukhtar. Thank you for giving me the chance.
Lawal, your mic is dropping, man. What's going on? Lawal, you wanna type your question? The data is really misbehaving. Cosmos, you wanna turn your mic on and ask your question, please? And anybody else?
To be scalable globally.
Sorry,
Hello, can you hear?
Lawal, hold up. Cosmos,
yes.
Okay, Lawal, your network is a bit erratic. Is it stable now?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Please ask your question
Okay.
because Cosmos is hot and ready to go.
Okay. My first question is about scalability. One of the speakers mentioned that if a startup want to develop a project, he should try and do it globally. So my question here is how a startup going to face or mitigate the challenges of regulatory issues in different parts of the world? For example, now I'm working on a project on certificate verification and issuance using blockchain. So I'm restricting it to my country, Nigeria. So I'm thinking of scaling it up to other countries, but the regulatory agencies in those countries are not on this a page with maybe my country. So how can we mitigate that problem? That is my question number one. And my second question is about data management. You see, like a project I'm working on, we're going to onboard different universities.
Sorry, Lawal, we're gonna take your first question only because time is an issue. But Sarah, I guess you heard the gist of the data management thingy, yeah? Let's take
on our blockchain.
question. Sorry,
Yes.
Lawal, your network is really not giving you a chance to thrive. But we've heard your question, 1 question and a half. So just for the fairness of time, okay? We'll come back to you. Let's get Cosmos' question. Cosmos, what's your question, please?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Cosmos.
Yo, Cosmos, what's up?
Yes, I think Lawal have hinted on my question. Was that question number one was what I wanted to ask. So I want Sarah to explain in details the issue of scalability and also passing through government bureaucracies and implementation. So how do we go around all this process to get our work to scalability? Thank you.
Okay, so scalability is the name of the game, which is really interesting because, as Laval has brought up before, there is a huge differentiation between countries, between different jurisdictions regarding the legislation and treatment of this assets, to the point that I can assure you most of the countries do not actually have any legislation. So what do, right? So you could be paralyzed by the absence of global and harmonious regulations regarding digital assets and blockchain, or you could be incentivized by this wide open sky high field to build your thing, just do it, and then deal with the different regulations that you have to abide on. And you can start from your country and build the concept and the idea, and then depending on where you want to launch it, look at how what are the protocols and how the protocols needs to be massaged depending on how knowing that there's going to be a global audience of it. If you're creating a truly decentralized and distributed blockchain or a blockchain based system, then that the users are going to be from anywhere, and that, or you should know, or you should get a really good lawyer to help you to understand that there are certain countries that have very high barriers for privacy, that have very high barriers, for example, for consumer protection and consumer protection laws, and high barriers for property law. So, at the end of the day, I always tell people, bring it back to, what is it that you're building, right? And if it is based on a decentralized blockchain, just know that the way that your customers are going to access it and own anything on this blockchain is through what? A private key, right? Bring it down to what you know. And a private key where, how is this private key created? Well, it's created through a mechanism, and the mechanism is the encryption that is kind of, all over the blockchain. So my very short answer to you is, don't let one thing drive another. Don't let the void or the lack of legislation or the differentiation of approaches, like there are countries that don't even consider digital assets that are capital property, right? They don't even recognize them. So don't let that void disparage you. If you have a good idea, and if you find a group of people that wants to help you to build on it, literally just do it. But maybe Evan and Nico have different ideas.
Yeah, Evan, there's you want to chime in on that aspect of scalability, because I know, first of all, we are very chain agnostic on this platform, okay? But I know BSV was working on Terranode and, trying to tackle the issue of scalability. You want to just help us with that? And then Shamsuddin has a question, and Shamsuddin for now has a question.
Okay.
Thank
So
you
maybe
very
we
much.
Sorry,
right,
Shamsuddin, you want to wait for Evan to address the previous question first, and then you can
I'll
ask.
try to do it quickly.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, the holy grail, so to speak, of blockchain is scalability, right? Because, you effectively, if you want to onboard the global corporate world and everybody else, then you're going to need to be able to do a lot of transactions, not just enough transactions to do all of what Google and Amazon needs to be able to do, but everybody. And that's because ultimately, nobody's going to want to just be on their own network, right? Like Amazon's not going to just be on one network, and Google's on another network, and then, whoever's on another network, and they're all trying to figure out how to make it all work together. So the holy grail here is scalability to an immense level. And that's what the race is. That's what the game is. And a lot of people don't realize that. But that's what the game truly is here. It is a race to the moon in terms of scalability. And, different networks try to achieve different varying degrees of scalability in different ways. So some, they believe that the scaling should occur in what they call second or third layer solutions. These are generally not blockchains, or if they are kind of, they don't solve a lot of the critical issues that, that blockchain set out to solve. Number one, the Byzantine general's dilemma, which I don't want to get into at the moment. But effectively, scalability is very important, and BSV, they have kind of taken scalability in the perspective of large blocks on the main chain, on the layer one, as some people say, but really it is the main chain or the chain, right? Being able to do all transactions on the main chain. And in order to do that, you need excessively large blocks. So, Terranode is a project to create terabyte size blocks on BSV, and so far they have been able to build terabyte-sized blocks, but it's not the easiest thing to do, and it's not just this. First you have to build the nodes and software, then you got to make sure that your miners have the hash power and the capabilities to be able to operate. This, when you're talking about this kind of level of scalability, you're talking about massive data centers. You're talking about, and that's something that some people are against, right? Like there are people who don't want that. They want everything to be able to be run off of everybody's laptop, right? So okay, totally understandable. And maybe there's not going to just be one blockchain. Maybe I should have a little safety. I think there's room for some things that are probably a bit alternative, but I do believe there'll be one mainstream blockchain network that and that's the goal, right? That should be the goal of any blockchain like project that is trying to build something that's going to help the world, right? Because you effectively need to be able to have everybody able to interact with each other, right? Like I should be able to do business with somebody in Nigeria just without any sort of friction. And you can't really do that if you have like a fragmented, blockchain system made up of a bunch of different networks, and there's middlemen now forming between the networks to try to make it all work, right? You really do need one. And so that's kind of like the holy grail, right? If somebody can achieve immense scalability, they will surpass all other blockchains, right? If one blockchain can achieve immense scalability, I believe that it would be that is the main prerequisite to mass adoption.
Yeah, but Evan, this brings back somewhat of a discussion that was had here yesterday. This is where the politics start coming in. Like let's look at the Bitcoin chain in its inception, okay? And then you had the forks, which brought about Bitcoin Cash, then BSV and all that. And then right now there's like gazillion chains. Evan, possibly, how is it possible to bring all these chains into one and say, despite the politics, despite all these things that are going on out there, how can we bring about one chain?
Well, I don't think, I don't think it's okay. How can we bring about it is kind of, I don't know.
I have an answer.
Okay.
Oh, I have an answer for this easy.
I know, but I kind of want to allude to something first. It's not so much.
Jamzuddin has a question as well.
Okay.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
So I think, there is a degree of inevitability to, of course, I don't want to say anything is inevitable, but I think that, that's the trajectory that we are on now currently as a global sort of human civilization, is that this, this kind of the system that we currently use has reached its limitations, right? We've reached the limits of the traditional financial system. It's not able to enable the growth needed to secure the world for another 100 years and bring people into a better level of living, and to deal with all the machines, all the AI, all the computer systems. The current system is a failure. It's destructive. If anything, its limitations are now destructive. It's causing damage. And so I think it's inevitable that we will move to a much better system.
Okay.
That would, I think, be a massively scalable blockchain based system that
Okay.
would be public and that would be governed by something that would not be unfair, right? And that's and honestly, proof of work is the most fair form of participating in the network because there's no limitations. If I have to have 39 Ethereum to go and be a block validator, and I mean it's an arbitrary number, right? Like somebody just made it up, but versus I live in Zimbabwe, and I have access to hydroelectric power for free, maybe if I'm a country, or I mean not free but whatever, right? And I can secure some computers. All of a sudden I can participate in the Bitcoin network, right? And there's no sort of I don't have to ask permission. I don't have to, I don't even need to buy any Bitcoins, right? I can just earn them from my hydro, or from my wind, or from my solar, or from whatever.
Right.
So it's very fair. It's very
I
fair.
have to jump in. I have to.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and then we also need to hear
Evan,
Shamsuddin's question.
mine will be quick. So the
Okay.
answer is money, right? Think of money as water right now, right? So you have a developed country that has water, has running water. I can go to my kitchen right now, turn it on, I have drinkable water, right? There are so many communities right now that don't have that. And the same is true with money. Like for me, I have a bank account, I have an infrastructure, I have all of that. There are so many countries that don't. But with some chains, they do. Instantly, right now, I can get drinkable water to Africa, Indonesia, India, to the most remote places because we use BSV, and BSV costs us nothing to use it. We don't budget for it. We don't think about it. We have never considered the cost of using BSV. So what that does for me is I have now transcended all borders. I've transcended everything. There are certain requirements that I must follow because I am a business in America. However, for the users, it costs them nothing. So for me, the answer is very, very simple for my company. I'm not saying you have to use BSV, but I am saying that it will cost you nothing if you do. I just wanted to throw that out there because I think it speaks for itself. Money.
Right.
If it costs you nothing to use it, and it costs you nothing to create with it, why would you not use it? I now have instantly accessed most of the world, undeveloped even. So it's the reach of certain blockchains is much farther than others. And I think Evan mentioned that with the 39 Ethereum, you can't participate in Ethereum as a stakeholder, but most of you probably won't be a stakeholder. You'll be a user, but there's still gas fees and there's still other fees that are associated with using a system that has that latency. Whereas these other chains, and not just BSB, but there are other chains,
Sarah
but
looks like
it costs nothing. So I'm done. That's what
Okay,
I wanted to say.
Nino, thank you for that. But we're all here to have a forum. So can I
Of course.
gently
Wait,
push, can
Sarah.
I gently push back?
Sarah, do you want to hold
Yeah.
that thought? Just don't forget that. Don't lose your train of thought, please. Shamsuddin has been holding for like 20 minutes now. Shamsuddin, please
Okay.
ask your question because Sarah is looking at shooting everybody down right now.
Thank you very much, Blockchain Lex Group, even Sarah. Thank you very much, all the organizers, for organizing such remarkable educational bootcamp. This is indeed a great and a remarkable sacrifice, and thank you very much. I respect you for that. And to the audience here present, I say GM to everybody here. And yes, the what I wanted asking is still about the scalability and in general the blockchain trilemma. That is the decentralization, the scalability, and the security. possibly almost all the blockchain ecosystem are all trying to overcome this blockchain problem about the decentralization, the scalability, and so also looking at some of the layer twos, also trying to come up with different strategies. Some are embracing the dynamic sharding, and the rest of them in all overcoming the issue of scalability and to make things work as is expected. So looking at our own normal traditional way of transacting businesses like the banking system, the network we use in our traditional banking system, compare it to the blockchain ecosystem, our traditional network is a bit, let me say, it's faster than that of blockchain. So as a professional, what do you think about this? Can we remain optimistic that the time will come that blockchain system will be faster and more scalable than what we are using in our Web2 and traditional banking system? This is the question I have. So thank you very much for
Sarah,
having me.
there you go. Sarah, that's on you.
Well, I mean, I think that you raised really great issues about centralized and decentralized blockchains, because as we know, every time that we centralize something, you know, the Pharaoh pyramid that we were talking about, we're adding a layer of weaknesses and fragility, right, from external attack. So I do agree with you. It's problematic. Centralized blockchains, you know, even the one of CDBC, of centralized digital currencies from central banks, could create a level of non-security and hacking, cyber attacks optionality, right? But I would you know, I would like to comment on that security a little bit further and make it slightly nuanced. You know, if you you know, we hear a lot about, you know, how the blockchain system is used by, you know, nefarious, you know, black hat type of people that are hacking, and you know, it's used for, you know, not so great or lofty, you know, issues such as terrorism and other things. And I would push back in saying that that's a very minimal use, but it's just a prominent, you know, it's the use that really is making news. Sorry for the pun, but it's what, you know, it's what catching our zeitgeist right now. It's this you know, nefarious or black eye over certain users of the system to exchange. So securities can be, the security of the system can be layered as a conversation in, you know, who are the real users, what is it used for, and then yes, you know, the centralization of the system as a fragility issue in the overall. But I would also argue that hacking a system is actually quite difficult, even, you know, so yes, it happens, but there has to be some kind of like the merging a whole bunch of, you know, not just a trifecta of variables, but it has to be, you know, the lining up of incredible resources for that to happen. So that would be my answer. And before I send it off to Evan and Nico to answer, that might have more in-depth and brilliant, you know, ideas about that. I want to push back on, you know, sorry, I'm going to take the opportunity on the idea that the blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain, is free. And this is, you know, I want to say, and maybe because I'm a lawyer, but nothing is ever free in life. There is no such thing. Nothing is free. To run a node, to participate to the blockchain, to get your computer hooked up into the network requires what? Hardware. It requires you to actually own a computer, and not everybody, unfortunately, do have that ability. We can talk about, you know, maybe that issue, and because it's a barrier of entry. And then once it's hooked up, well, guess what it does? It sucks up power in your electrical bill, and we know that that's becoming more and more expensive as we are transitioning from an oil and gas, you know, economy to a more environmentally friendly economy. Also, I would push back on the idea that this is, what's going to be, that it is quote unquote free. Well, as we know, Bitcoin is finite. There are only 21 millions there. The rate at which is being mined is consistently slowed down. But we know it's going to eventually all be mined. And then the system is actually ready to transition from a Bitcoin based to a transaction gas fee based. So it may be quote unquote free right now or incentive based system now, but it's not going to be forever, right? And so if you're buying into the Bitcoin blockchain as your longevity, bet onto, the economy and reality, just know that eventually that is going to change and it will cost you more than what is costing you today. So
Thanks,
I
Sarah.
just want to leave it there. I had to say it.
No, very, very
So-
good.
So
Sorry,
hold up.
can I just?
So hold
I
up,
want to talk
Evan.
about. Oh yeah, sure.
We literally have 3 hours. Sorry, 3 minutes to the top to the end of the session.
Yeah. I'll say it
So-
very important.
Yeah, please say what you're
Decentralization-
saying, and then we take one last question from
Okay.
Oba Keng, and then we wrap it up, please.
Okay, so decentralization, the gentleman asked about that, and I think it's very important to touch on these points. There's a big misunderstanding about decentralization when it comes to blockchain, right? Currently, the global financial system is more decentralized than all of the blockchains. Well, maybe not all of them combined, but definitely more than BTC, definitely more than Ethereum. I mean, there's more central banks than there are miners in BTC, BSV, and BCH combined, right? So, and there's M1, M2, M3 money supply. So the current financial system is actually heavily decentralized in a degree, although what really matters when it comes to decentralization and blockchain isn't how many miners there are necessarily. It's about the peer-to-peer aspect, right? So in fact, miners, they don't actually they're just verifying that your transaction is correct, right? But you're not actually like sending your money to a miner and then the miner sending the money to you, whoever you want. You're not going through the miner, right? You're sending me, I'm sending directly to Sarah, right? And the miner is just verifying that transaction is honest. So, that's the decentralized part. The amount of miners don't really play that much into the decentralization, right? Because if it is that case, then obviously BTC is not decentralized, nor BSV or any of those, Ethereum either. And frankly, and I mean, what level would be right? Like, okay, I guess that's just comparing it to the current financial system. But I mean, how many miners do you need to be decentralized, right? Like, is it just an arbitrary number somebody's going to come up with? Oh, well, you need at least X. I mean, the reality is that if there's more than one miner, theoretically, it's enough. Technically, you can get by even with one, right? Because BTC, right, originally it was only mined by Satoshi Nakamoto. So the decentralization isn't, you can talk about the distribution of the mining, but when you talk about decentralization, it really comes down to the peer-to-peer aspect. There's no third parties, right? You're not sending money to somebody and then having them send money to somebody else. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Evan. Now, we're going to continue this conversation tomorrow on the later session. Now, Oba Keng, please ask your question. It's the last question. We're literally short of time right now.
All right. Thank you very much, Blockchain Lex. Just might have forgotten the name for you. So I have a question, and I actually have a different opinion, because my question is, what is the market share of BSV? And I have a different viewpoint on one blockchain, because the ones with the largest scalability might have like centralized Web2 cash injections. And even as the big players in Web3 continue to scale, when they accept like the capital from the big Web2 tech companies, it just pushes the true Web3ers to build more decentralized protocols away from having one blockchain. And as it has been mentioned, there are already thousands of protocols that exist. So that's just the trend that I'm seeing, that the more they keep injecting Web2 big tech company money into Web3 organizations, then there's just more protocols that keep popping up. And yeah, that is just my opinion.
That was a proper question, that Obakeng. Fantastic question. Now, can Nino, Evan, and Sarah wrap up based on that question? That observation was proper. It ends our nice. It wraps up.
I
our
think 2 seconds. I can do it in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It's about greed, right? Like big money coming in. Okay, I want some too. And how to do it? Okay, I'll start my own network. I mean, that's the big deal, right? Everybody, instead of going and building a product that, a business that is going to make money, everybody just wants to like do some sort of, ICO or whatever and have their own coin and do that. And maybe you need to do that. Maybe that's what you want. Maybe it works. Maybe it's actually not to make money. Maybe it's, you just want to do something for your community. But the overall trend generally is because there's a chance for people to make money from these kind of venture capital style ICO or, token offerings or coin offerings. Thank you.
Thanks, Evan. Nino?
So my intent is not to help someone create a new speculative coin where they can gamble or try and make money off of developing some sort of utility or some sort of new protocol. My intent is to help you solve a problem in your community. So a lot of the focus of this boot camp needs to be brought back to how do I use this technology to solve a problem for my community or the world, and how am I going to build this in a way that supports the community, solves the problem. So it's not so much, yes, there are a million protocols that are being made every day because someone else, like the Keanu Reeves coin. I mean, that's probably not a thing, but it could be, It's not about the speculative, oh, this could make money. Maybe people will adopt this. Maybe Doge kicks off. Maybe the next meme. It's not so much that. It's I see that there are kids in Africa who are uneducated and their families have to choose whether or not to send all of their kids to school or send one of their kids to school. I wanted to solve that problem. So I made Fifth Work and I am working on solving that problem. Ultimately, there is a societal problem that exists that I can use the power of micropayments and the power of borderless protocols to solve. So that's what I want you guys to focus on. Not how do you just make money, but how are you making the world better? How are you making, your society better?
Thanks, Nino. Sarah?
So I'll be the contrarian lawyer because you gotta have one, right? So I am always very wary to use a solution to look for problems. Normally, it's the opposite. You have a problem and you look for a solution. And blockchain cannot be a solution for every problem. Number one. Number two, regarding the coexistence of many blockchain, thank God there are out there, and not blockchains is not currency. You need a token to have the payment rail actually work, right? You need a token for things to be uploaded and for the entire ledger to actually work. That's how the algorithm and the protocols are actually designed for. Not every currency, not every token, not every coin needs to have value, right? You don't need to use it as a means of exchange. It's just a mean to make the blockchain work. Number three, I love the idea of ERPs, Ethereum request for comments. Anybody who wants to have their own dApps can jump on the Ethereum and create their own avenues for exchange. So that is the portal of creativity. That's how Solana, Algorand, that's how all the other chains came about, because of that openness of the system and the ability to create NFTs that, you know, we can talk about ordinal in another time, but very, very different smart programs that can be you know, created on top of the blockchain in the Ethereum. And then the last things, not my keys, not my coins. There is an idea of sovereignty that it's built into this blockchain that create, you know, this idea that I own data, I own my coins, I own my keys, and those are fairly robust and secure. I'm gonna leave it like that.
Sarah, literally, I was just typing to someone on the chat who was like, yo, he's paying mad attention whenever you speak. So I was just about to type down to him and tell him, Cosmas, follow Sarah on LinkedIn. She's badass. Literally, I was just about to tell him that. But guys, that wraps it up for today. We're gonna reconvene tomorrow. We're gonna have Craig Porter, who is a Bitcoin OG blockchain architect. And now he's really going to go under the hood of what this technology is, blockchain Web3, and the sort of movement we are looking at. He's worked on BSV. Nino, I think you've met Craig as well. Evan, I think you've met Craig as well. So Craig is going to be with us tomorrow. And then I think we're going to have Sarah again on Friday to now tell us how all these things work together. Sarah, I'll check the timetable. It's either Friday or
I think it's Thursday.
it's Thursday. Oh wow. Oh yeah, I'm already on Wednesday. Yeah. So yeah, Thursday. Yeah. But thank you so much, everybody. Keep the communication bubbling in the Discord and wait for the updates and everything on Instagram and WhatsApp. It's been lovely, lovely having you. So catch you later. Bye-bye.